Hello, everybody. It is Two Queers in a Truck, August 24th. And my partner in crime, Christian Cano, and I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, by the way. He forgot how to work the music machine in our previous show. And I wanted to play him a little bit of, it's got a little bit of a Tejano beat to it because it is
Yeah,
Santana, world famous Santana.
you got some Santana going on there. I'm impressed.
Oh, I love
I'm,
Santana.
I'm very impressed.
And the
So,
vocals by Rob Thomas. And
yeah, yeah,
And actually, that song "Smooth" was really big the last time I lived in San Antonio, which was about 20 years ago.
yeah. It's
And
been a while.
you literally there for a couple years, you couldn't go anywhere and not hear that song.
Yeah.
It was just such a big hit, but especially because it's such a strong Latin culture there in San Antonio, and Santana being a world famous guitarist and rock musician. Um, Absolutely loved there. Probably almost as big as Selena in many ways. It just cranked out the hits, just and you can hear the guitar riffs, and it's just incredible. But I
Yeah.
figured
They
since
actually,
you were,
they actually had
since you were so smooth at the previous show, piping in the
Jen.
music only into your earpiece.
Yeah, hey Jen. They actually have another song, like I don't know what you call it. They got together again.
Mhm.
It was either this year or last year, of another one that is actually pretty good. It sounds very similar to that one.
Oh yeah. Well,
Santana and him got back together.
it's
I forgot the name of it.
so Santana, they've
Yeah.
been making the group Santana has been making group music for God at least 40 years. I mean, the group that it's named after, of course, is the musician Santana, but he's been playing venues, I think, since the late 70s. Like he's been around a long, long time, but he absolutely probably one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Their sound is very unique. It's very you can hear a lot of the Latinx cultures and beats and things of that fused in with a rock guitarist type music. And Rob Thomas, which is one of the more famous vocalists of the last 20 years, and they've had several other guest singers on their albums as well. So it's not unusual to hear usually the more popular lead singers of the day jump onto a Santana album just to record with that legend. So anyway, that's a huge segue. I had to poke fun at my partner and cry a little bit to show him how music is run, and then get on with Two Queers in a Truck. Well, how you doing, boo? And your microphone's on, so you're still having technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. It's early.
No,
Good morning. Yeah, yeah. It's
well,
early as far as considering what we normally take. So,
yeah.
instead of vodka, I'm drinking coffee. So,
Oh, so Amy, I think Chris, we probably have a little bit of a pride hangover from
yeah.
the last week's festivities. Charlotte Pride once again is back in person after a 3-year hiatus because of old Miss Rona hanging around so long, and we had 275,000 guests here in the Queen City. It was a rocking good time, which was a record crowd for Charlotte Pride in its 20-year history. And they did it with grace and dignity. It was a very well-run festival and parade, and just impressed with not only the volume of booths and floats and just everything that they managed over the weekend. It was very good. It was a lot of tears, a lot of joy. Just a powerful, powerful moment in Pride history here in our local, a little part of the world. And so I had to give them a nod, like we did on the previous show. And I don't know how you felt about it, but what are your thoughts?
It was very well done. It is very well done. As you mentioned, and you talk about this, and we talk about this a lot. It was so good to see the diversity. It was so good to see the people out, and I think it just highlighted the disconnect of these bigoted type of policies like Dick Santos and Abbott and all of these. It highlighted the disconnect between what their rhetoric and what the reality is in the world. Most people are they're the fringes of the fringe. And the goal is obviously to get the people at Pride to all vote.
Well,
And most of them, I'm sure, will. But I do hope this highlights how disconnected their policy is to reality of how people want the world to be.
that's a really important point because, scrolling through Instagram and Facebook, which I have a lot of local friends and dignitaries on both of mine, as do you. And for the people that participated in the festivities that aren't in the LGBT community, that's what I found more interesting. So reading some of my friends that are straight and cisgendered and their comments about how much they enjoyed it with their family, how they noted how professional Charlotte Pride ran this and just how safe they felt and how much they enjoyed the diversity and remarked at the inclusivity of the event and how everybody there, even the Libertarian Party had a booth there. And, so you look at all the different types of people that were there, and you look at the crowd. I know Chris and I both marched in the parade, and just looking at the crowd as we're going by, you saw every kind of human being. You saw every type of person embracing this event. And one, it's great to live in a big city, and two, it is great to see the community's feedback to us as high-ranking public members of the LGBT community, and vice versa. It's that they had a good time. That's the most important thing. You come to Charlotte Pride not to have a downer. It's to see people and people watch and have a good time, and enjoy some adult beverages if you partake of that stuff. If you want to go to the shows,
We did.
with the community, yes, we did.
Yeah,
we took full
good.
advantage of those VIP tickets.
We sure did.
And it was just an overall just a great time. And we got our little swag bags with our little koozies and pins and all that, which I got some fabulous.
There's some good stuff in there.
And some things like that. I got my little Rosedale.
Oh yeah, that's
Douglas
right.
pin, which I really like because it's got the little squishy holder.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just overall just a great time. It's like the family reunion with the family members that you actually like, and just had a great time. But we probably do need to jump into the topics because I could talk about this stuff all day long. So our first topic is Hail Satan, or as Saturday Night Live says, Satan. A school in Illinois had defended the fact that since they allow religious groups to have after-school programs like different clubs, like you have whether it's the Jesus Prayer Group or the military club or whatever club it is, a local satanic church organized with students a after-school Satan club, and so and pardon me.
They did.
Yeah.
I know you had talked about this before, but I didn't actually think they would do it. I'm impressed.
Oh no. I mean, I suggested it, but and all that, and the Satanic Church is actually a lot bigger than people realize. But most of all, I think it's great because, for one, it's if you're going to have different religions, you've got to allow all of them. If you are going to ban the Satanic Church to not be able to not have a club after school, then you have to also ban the prayer groups. You have to the Christian groups. You can't pick and choose. Your microphone's off.
Is there backlash from that? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. Well, there's some parents, of course, that had concerns about the Satanic Church being there on the campus, but the school district said no. Either that, or we kick out all the religious clubs. It's one or the other. So. You can't have a Jewish group, you can't have a Christian group, you can't have a Islamic group if you're going to ban the Satanic Church. And so I think it's a fabulous idea. I would love to see it in Mecklenburg ISD.
Well, I'm saying isn't that the strategy that you were talking about, that we were talking about with like books and stuff? If 100%. You want to go there, if you want to go there, then you got to fight fire with fire. Like, I don't know if you read, but last week or the week before, the Keller, Texas, I think they banned, they took a bunch of books off their shelves, including the Bible. And Frank, so people were so upset.
The whole state of Texas. No, let's be very clear. So the governor, the genius governor of Texas, is banning books, certain books, like Anne Frank for whatever reason. But they also had to ban the Bible, and because because it has sex in it and all kinds of other stuff, which it is a very violent, very sexual book. I mean, it's about humanity, and so it's very bizarre. Chris, again, I refer back to the Tejano story of them being mad about, the extra border security that Governor Abbott thinks that they need to have. That's done no good whatsoever. And slowed up traffic is all it's done. In the careful what you ask for. Would you say, well, I want to start banning books, and you start opening Pandora's box, or you say, well, I want prayer back in school, so we'll start this Jesus Club after school. Just remember, when you open that door, it also lets the Satanists have their club, which is fair. You have to open it up to the Jewish kids, the Islamic kids, the Buddhist kids, and everybody else. And especially if it's a big city like Chicago or Charlotte, because we have all those religions and those groups represented here, you can't deny the other one. It's unconstitutional. It'd actually be highly illegal for a school district to do that. The only thing you can do is say, well, we can't have any religion on the campus and honor church and state, and that would be great too. But you got to pick one or the other.
Yeah, I thought about this when you were just saying that, Jen. One of the things you have to be careful what they ask for, because these Moms for Liberty people that are leading these movements, the opposition is much smarter, and they will outwit them. So they think, okay, we're going to ban these gay books, we're going to ban these transgender books, anything that they don't like. Watch what you ask for, because the opposition is a lot smarter than the LGBT community. We've learned to survive. We've learned to use what we've been given, make it work, and beat you. And I assure you that they're going to start that all it takes is a couple of kind of progressive parents to say, okay, we're going to ban this, and they're going to start challenging every book, which they should.
So they forced the Bibles to get banned out of the Texas schools because they said, well, if you can't teach this or this, then that book has to come out too. Exactly. So progressives have been started adding books, or adding books to the list that need to be banned that are propaganda of the right. And here's the thing. First of all, banning books literally in libraries and educational institutions is counterintuitive to education. It is literally the dumbest. I don't care if a library has a Bible in it. I don't have to read it.
Exactly. Thank you.
I could because there's usually either in a library in the Dewey Decimal System or whatever they have for the thing. They have it all segregated out to topics. And if I don't want to read about any kind of religious stuff, guess what? I don't have to go to the religious area. Second of all, I now don't read books. I use books on tape anyway. But so I got my own library on my little iPhone here. But if I did go in a library for whatever reason, stumbled in there drunk, I don't have to sit there and go, oh my gosh, there's a Bible in here, it ruined my whole experience. And that's the whole weird thing. And so these weirdos like Dick Suckus down there in Florida that just sits there and obsess about gay people and gay sex and all this, and is just eating alive about. You have to wonder about his state of mind. I mean, literally,
he's probably watching porn in the back room.
I mean, clearly he's very obsessed about gay sex.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know what that says about him, but he spends a lot of, and in order, if he is a straight man, he spends a lot of inordinate amount of time, disproportionate amount of time thinking about gay sex.
It's not normal.
We'll leave that section on that note. Just think about it. Seems like a really hard topic to me. Anyway, the grifting of the MAGA grandmas and grandpas continues. So the Trump crime family just spent $60,000 on Kim Guilfoyle's speech. I guess she did some kind of speaking engagement they paid her for. $600,000 on portraits of himself and his family for the Smithsonian. And I'll tell you what, I could have saved them a lot of money, because as soon as they get prosecuted for these 300 documents that he stole, that he did steal, these high security documents, they could have the Smithsonian could have just used their mugshots.
Yeah.
I mean, and you wouldn't have had to pay a photographer and an artist $600,000 for these portraits. I mean, the mugshots would really more encapsulate the Trump crime family, plus the 36 other things that are going on right now in different courts and prosecutorial districts. But I don't know. I always say I'm not the smartest tool in the shed or sharpest tool in the shed, but I'll tell you what, when you're a broke trans girl, you know how to save money. They could have just sent me the $600,000 and we could have just waited for the moment when they all get prosecuted and hung and drug out in cuffs, and they all get their little mugshots put on the internet, which is going to be a very big holiday in most communities across America.
You know, I read this weekend that this big Republican donor whose father donated to Matt Gaetz wrote an op-ed in a Florida paper about how outraged he is that Matt Gaetz is using his donations to hire the attorney that was defending the guy that committed suicide, the billionaire guy, whatever his name was. Anyway, he's using the same attorney to defend him against these charges in Florida, and he's mad that he's using his campaign money, and he's saying that he has cheated his donors by lying, saying that he's using it for, So of course I'm like, duh! Did you not know he's gonna try to find a reason not to pay for it himself, just like Trump is doing? So I chuckle when I start to hear some of these Republican donors going, Trump is ripping us off.
Well,
Duh!
I mean, you guys were just bragging about how savvy he was filing bankruptcy for all these times and all these businesses, and how he's a savvy businessman. And when the stories came out about it, when they built Mar-a-Lago, they cheated over 1,000 small business contractors. They're predominantly black and brown businesses, and he only paid the big companies because he knew they would sue his pants off. And he just tell those small companies, those small contractors, just sue me in court. I've lived in court for 40 years. I don't care. And anyway, Trump Steaks, Trump University. Did you start understand all the things that y'all bragged about him, about being a huckster and how clever he was? Yeah. Did you think your money was going to go into some kind of magical honesty account? Like all of a sudden he was going to honor your donations? You fucking idiot. Look, here's the thing. If you donate to a con artist, a proven, sued con artist and self-admitted rapist, you get what you deserve. Just because you're a billionaire does not mean you're not stupid. You're very stupid if you think for a minute that a guy that has been part of a crime family for decades is going to go, oh, this guy sent me $1 million. Maybe I should spend this more wisely. No, scammers be scamming. That's the whole point of this section. It just amazes me now that all of a sudden the right's going, oh, grandma donating to the Trump clown show that's going around the country. Maybe isn't the best use of our money. Yeah, I'd have thought about that in 2015 and 2016.
I mean, it's the reason, Jenny, that for a long time I did feel sorry for all these small donors that are donating, to Trump.
Oh,
but now I'm like, you know what? If you're dumb enough to do that, don't complain about how you don't have money for gas. I mean, don't complain about high gas prices. Don't complain about that when you're just basically throwing your money to a calm person.
You
I
know,
mean, at
what
what
is it?
point do you
Was it
say,
the PT Barnum saying,
yeah,
suckers born every minute?
yeah, yeah? It's just
Yeah. I mean, he is the criminal political version of PT Barnum. Even his little road show with all the Trump onesies they sell and all the merch and just the absolute clown. It's just a clown show. It's a three-ring circus. Yeah, and like a couple of weeks ago, the Florida, that whole that far right group, and I'm blanking on the name right now, where MTG put this dramatic Queen performance with that terrorist criminal. It just to me, if you're contributing to these fools, and you know they're fools, like they've let you know they're fools.
Yeah.
Who's the real fool?
Don't you, Danny? Don't you want to be there at that moment when that Trump MAGA person who's been going to all these rallies, who's been talking this smack, and the election's robbed, it's not this, yada, 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 the pedophiles and the Democrats are pedophiles. Don't you want to be there that exact, because it has to happen, that exact moment they go, and think he ripped this out?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
you want to be there that exact moment where you go,
well, for some of them, the moment's already passed because they got wiped out by COVID.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true. That's right. That's
of almost the 2 million people that have been documented, undocumented, that have died of COVID, the majority of them are Republicans, especially since the vaccine rolled out. So all those unvaccinated fools that died of COVID in the last year or two, they had their moment. And then now we're having moments, and that's why you're seeing so many Republicans starting to register as independent. That's why I think you're seeing that happen in Florida as well. I think that's why there's more swing voters in Florida now, as though they go, I won't register as a Democrat, but I'll just become an independent. But that is our signal for our first break, and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, boo. Happy time. And we are back. And, they're their own worst enemy. I mean, there's nothing worse than an idiot with a microphone. But we prove that every week. But anyway, Fox whines about teacher shortages. And so there's been a bunch of Fox exposés about teacher shortages. And I find it interesting that all of a sudden Fox News, that has just demonized teachers for the last few years and referring to them as woke and communists and just all these other things, and yet now all of a sudden is worried about teacher shortages, I guess because it's happening in mostly red states. So especially Texas and Florida are like 40, 50, 60,000 or more teachers short this year, coming into the school year that's starting basically right now. And so you've seen Florida do the extreme measure of just saying veterans with no degrees, no certification can become an automatic teacher. You're seeing, just desperation from the right to do this. But I think what's really important to note is who sowed all this disconnect is people like Fox that have for years, and especially the last 4 or 5 years, they've been so anti-public education. They've sat there and just said, demonize teachers just trying to do their job. And I'm trying to find the article and the thread of all the Fox News propaganda against the teachers. But it's
Jenny, you made a very good point, because once again, this strategy to demonize teachers, demonize education, demonize books, demonize all that stuff, woke, all that kind of stuff, it's not a sustainable model. It's a very short term, make a couple of people angry, but the overall individuals, the people in public schools, the majority of people in public schools are Black and brown. The very small percentage of poor white kids, because they can't afford to go to private schools, the poor white kids, which are these Moms for Liberty parents, they're these white moms that are suburban moms that suddenly think that they're real smart teachers, and they suddenly have gone, well, I didn't realize what they were being taught until they had to stay home from COVID, and I said they're learning science, and that's just we need to ban books. That model is not sustainable, because within the African American community, education is very, very important for children to move them forward. Within the Hispanic, Latinx, Latino community, first and second generation parents, especially if they're bilingual, education is very important to their kids, because they want their kids to be better than them. So when you're dumbing down something, it may look like it's a win, but it's not. What ends up happening is, like Beto is starting to run. When I'm governor, I'm going to value teachers. I'm going to value education. We're going to put, those messages start to those people. I think I want my kid to go to a better public school, because I can't really afford the Catholic school, the private school, the charter school. I want them to do that. And quite honestly, if you live in the rural areas, also, public education is even more important, because they value their sports teams, their local football teams, especially in Texas.
So
right?
Here's some of the Fox. So I found the thread on Twitter that I was quoting. So on Fox News, just in July, so this was last month, a guy by the name of Greg Gutfeld, that was a guest on the Fox News shows, referred to teachers as the KKK with summers off. He also referred to them and the unions, teachers' unions, as corrupt, lazy, and incompetent. This is also another story. Fox News' Jesse Winters accused teachers of acting like they want to groom children. So the groomers thing came up. On Tucker Carlson's show, he said, how can you expect teachers to want to work when the country's top rated, we'll see. Tucker Carlson accuses schools of pushing and discussing trans identities. Fox host Mark Levin suggests that Disney and teachers are sexualizing little babies.
Hey, Jen, I have a question for you.
And it goes on and on and on. And these are just articles. I just want to make one more point. These are articles that came from this summer. These aren't old articles. And then you wonder, if you're a teacher in Florida or Texas, where most of those articles are targeting, if I was a professional teacher in those states and they were targeting me and talking about my profession, for one, I'd leave those states.
Yeah.
Two, or I would go into a different profession. You're not getting rich off a teacher's salary.
Mm-mm.
And the biggest point is that you can't keep abusing that profession and demonizing them and then expecting them to just be happy about it.
Because I've asked myself this question of all this stuff that's going on in Florida and in Texas, and you and I grew up in Texas. As a gay male, I don't remember my teacher promoting gayness, and I turned out gay.
No.
As a transgender woman, are you transgender because of a teacher?
No.
That's the stupid, silly thinking. Because what they're saying is the teachers are grooming kids to become. I am from heterosexual parents. I don't know if my teachers were gay or not or whatever, but I don't ever remember being called like into a gay club saying, hey, this is, probably would have been worse off if I was actually an altar boy. than if I was actually in school.
Well, yeah, they have
Yes.
special programs
So,
for that.
exactly. So I'm not gay because of that, because of school.
It that is one of the big lies that the alt-right say about
Yeah.
the LGBT community, especially, and a lot of these things are targeting the LGBT community or trying to use the LGBT community as a scapegoat, and also sell the idea that they need to privatize schools, and so you get what, again, just like with the extra border security, you get what you get. You've been asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
You've been attacking and demonizing. The far right's been demonizing schools since W and the Bush family and the Reagan family have been attacking public schools for a long time, and especially unions.
Yeah.
So now that teachers are either leaving the profession, I remember reading an article in 2017 or 2018 about the Texas teacher shortage. You have 400,000 licensed teachers in Texas that don't teach anymore, that aren't retired, but they left the profession because they're tired of the bullshit. And if you keep heaping, and you've managed people in large hotels chains for major companies, and I've managed people in my career. If you keep telling them you're dog shit,
Exactly.
let me tell you, that maid or that night auditor is going to say, you know what, Christian, peace out, Broham. Run the son of it yourself. And that's that. And I tell you, you can't even jockeys that whip the horse too much when they're racing in pari-mutuel horse racing. Let me tell you, I've been at races where that jockey was just whipping that horse too much. Where I've seen horses just stop and look at you, go like, "You can run this race yourself, bro."
Exactly.
And that's exactly what these teachers are doing. Anyway, topic number 4 is Pastor Jennings was just a little too black to be watering those flowers, according to the police. So in Childersburg, Alabama, there was a video that's gone viral on Instagram and the Tick of the Talk that a reverend was looking after their neighbor's house while they were out of town. And he was just out there watering the yard, kind of like I do for you guys when you go out of town. I might, just checking on the house. And 2 police officers from that town in Childersburg, Alabama, both white, said that a neighbor called and said that there was a suspicious man out front of this house. Now, he was supposed to be there. He lives in that neighborhood. He actually lives across the street from these are their actual neighbors, but he's also a pastor there in that town. And they came up on him and said, well, are you supposed to be here? And do you have ID? And he goes, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. They're out of town. I'm watering and taking care of their yard while they're gone. And when they come back, they're on their own type thing. And so the pastor bowed up on him a little bit because they said, well, you got an ID? He goes, I don't have to show you no ID. I'm supposed to be here. It just, he railed back on them. And then the thinner, younger looking cop started saying, well, you're being uncooperative. And they put him in handcuffs.
Oh, no.
One of the white ladies that was on that block came over and said, no, he lives here on this block. They're he is friends with the people that live here. He's supposed to be here. And they let him out of the cuffs because of the white lady. Anyway, I love the fact that Pastor Jennings was not going to let them see an ID. He said, I don't need an ID to be here. He said, second, you're just harassing me. You don't have anything better. The dude was out there literally with the water sprayer in his hand, watering flowers, and he was suspicious. So he was watering plants while being black. And it goes to show you, it is Alabama. So it was a small town in Alabama. So I'm not shocked, super racist white supremacist cops. Like one of them had like a buzz cut. You could just tell this guy was just itching to beat the crap out of this pastor, even though it was getting caught on video. And the second is, why would you harass somebody? Why would it be menacing or suspicious for him watering flowers. Like they had these huge flower deals, like just massive amount of flowers, and he's just sitting there with the sprayer, just spraying it above. Like there's not really a crime being committed there. I mean, like I could see it if he was going inside their window with broken glass all around, but the last time I checked, watering somebody's plants isn't a crime.
So what do you say? Because this is exactly what's going to be said. Well, he should have just cooperated with him and showed him his ID.
But why?
Because what they say is when a police officer or law enforcement asks you for identification, you're supposed to show them identification.
No, actually, that's not true. So we should stop that lie in its tracks.
Yeah.
They have to have probable cause. And they have to have probable cause that a crime is being committed. Otherwise, they are not supposed to approach you. Second of all, you don't have to show them shit. It's called the Fifth Amendment for a reason. You can say, I'm not required to show you. I've been approached by a cop before, multiple times actually, and I wouldn't show them ID.
Okay.
And one was in a mall and one was in a breakfast place late at night. And cops, when they do these overreaches, when they do this, they think that badge intimidates people. When people know the law, they can tell you in a very nice way, in a very firm way, you can fuck the fuck off, dude. Mm-hmm. That badge doesn't mean shit. That gun doesn't mean shit. I know my rights. Now, I have white privilege. And so they backed off me real quickly.
Yeah.
But in his pastor's case, he was right. He was not committing a crime. There is no probable cause. They shouldn't have even approached him that way. They should have just said hi to him and just passed on by and minded their own business. I didn't even think there was a call made, because when the pastor asked, well, who was it that called? Mm-hmm. They couldn't name a name. And I'm going, well, 911 has access to the person's name that called.
Well, and that's what he should go after that,
I don't think there was a call. I think they were cruising by a cruiser and they saw a black man watering flowers and wanted to harass the dude.
Sure. Yeah.
Either that or you saw an old white racist lady in the neighborhood. Oh, that black man, that black preacher, he just water people's flowers. I'm going, the whole point is he was watering flowers. He was watering fucking flowers. Yeah. And he happens to be black. Mm-hmm. If that was a white older gentleman instead of a black older gentleman, not shit would have been said.
So basically, I guess with that logic, their thinking is he was trying to get into the house by watering the flowers. That was his strategy. His strategy was, I'm going to break into this house, and instead of being sneaky and go around the back, I'm going to outwit him by watering the flowers for a while.
Yeah.
And then
and spend more time in the front yard with all the ring door cameras in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Let me go ahead and really incriminate myself. So either he's the dumbest thief that's ever walked the planet Earth, or he was just watering the flowers. But it tells you how racist our society really is and how much work we have to do. And it's another reason, previous show topic on our other show, the coffee show, it's another reason why I don't live in BFE, bumfuck Egypt. It's because of racist, homophobic cops like that are friggin' wackos and stop a guy and harass him for watering flowers. And it gets back to our police need to, obviously, clearly after Uvalde, we know they don't protect. But for God's sake, at least serve your community. And there is no service in harassing a black man doing his neighbor a solid by watering their flowers. There has to be something going on in that Childersburg, Alabama town that would be more pressing and be better for them to do. Like, I don't know, go read books to children, go help an old lady across the street, something other than harassing a black man, just trying to help his neighbors out. And that brings us up to our next break, and we'll be right back. Hey y'all, very important PSA. Monkeypox, a viral infection similar to chickenpox, is on the rise. There's been over 1,500 cases documented in the United States. If you've been exposed to the pox by a lover or by any other intimate contact, make sure you contact your county official or your personal physician. To learn more, you can contact any of your county health officials and see about a vaccine and or possible mitigating the symptoms. Be safe out there and have a fun summer. Bye.
Thank you, Boo, for that information. Bye.
But again, racists are stupid, just like Republicans. So total douchebag GOP candidate Scott S. from Oklahoma says it's okay to stone gay people to death. In a recent Mouth Breather article, he said this deal. It literally, this dude has like kind of a goatee, porn stash, redheaded looking dude. Looks flaming to me. I mean, and this popped up on Twitter.
Line. Did stones start being thrown at him?
And so many of the people that responded to this post that I saw that was reposted by several people I follow on deal saying hiding hate behind religion is a human tradition as old as recorded history. And a bunch of people said he looks like he's ready to come out of the closet pretty soon. And most of all, and some of the remarks are just fabulous. But he's getting dragged in the press. In fact, one of the first remarks is from my friend Little Miss Marksy, which is a poster. She does a lot of posts, a lot of videos. Said he's in the closet for sure. I came here to say that too. Can't wait till the truck stop glory hole pics come out. Somebody else put, well, the Bible describes shellfish as an abomination more times than it does homosexuality. But I don't see any of the God Squad protesting outside of Red Lobster or Bubba Gump Shrimp Shack. It just goes on and on. I mean, he's getting flamed.
Is he an elected official? Is he running for office? Or
he's running for office. His name is Scott.
Yeah.
His last name
What's
is
he running for? Like county commission
know.
Or something? Or yeah.
And hopefully this fool doesn't get elected because nobody in office should be like those.
But, I mean, you've talked about this, Jenny. That's their whole thing. Their whole thing is that whole party is not filled with anyone looking for qualifications. They're just looking for the loudest, most obnoxious things to get put on the internet.
And this did qualify.
Yeah.
I mean, to get it, into the media, get into the social media, and he's saying it doesn't make him a homophobe because he's saying that's what the Bible says, that we should be stoning gays. I'm going, well, yeah, they would stone people back to death back in the day with mob rule, and it was just something that they did, and it was part of history. But now we have due process. We have rule of law. All the things that Republicans say they support until they don't. And I just find it interesting that somebody that is a registered Republican running for office as a Republican would say something that is so stupid. Well, by that matter, then all the Republicans that have committed crimes, like the attack on the Capitol. So as Democrats, we are the larger party. Should we go around stoning the Republicans that attacked the Capitol, stole records, like classified records? Is that how we want to do it? Do we want to go by goon squads and mobs and just get our pitchforks and torches like they did in the Frankenstein books and just go after people? Because here's the thing, there's more of us than them.
Well, I think it's one of the, you have a perfect example. And because it happens, this is surprising that someone stupid would say something like this. But what surprises me is that we need to start asking them, like we have to do in North Carolina as well, like our stupid lieutenant governor. We have to start asking them, people who run against them, people who meet them, what do you put first? The Constitution, your oath for office, or your religious beliefs in your Bible? They are so stupid that they would say, well, my Bible and my God will always be first. Okay, fine. That disqualifies them for public office because they have to swear to the Constitution. So we have to start playing their game with them. Someone so stupid like this who says, well, I'm not homophobic because I'm just going by the Bible. All right. So what you're saying is that you put your Bible above the Constitution and protecting you from saying that. When Oklahoma becomes a majority Muslim state, they have every right to stone you as a Christian. That's what you're saying. Well, no, I'm an American and Constitution prevents me. You know what I mean? The logic, you have to break that logic. Now, I don't know if they're logical.
Well, no, I mean, a couple points. We have, anybody that dumb to say something that public, Chris, he's in Oklahoma, but I mean, besides the fact that he's in the suburb of Texas, that's literally more low rent than Texas somehow, and that's hard to do. But anyway, this fool getting up there, running for office, applying for this job, in a job application process of running for office, like you always say, is stupid enough to say, I advocate killing a certain part of the population that are voters. So let's say the numbers vary widely on how many percentage of the population is LGBT when you include, bisexuality, asexuality, and all that. It's a pretty big rainbow. They say maybe up to 1 in 4 people are in that spectrum. But let's say conservatively it's 10% of the population. He just told 10% of the adult voters, I would love to kill you if I got the chance. That I'm okay with mob rule, vigilantes going around with stones like we're back in, the King David days, and I'm gonna instead of slaying Goliath, we're gonna slay people that are wearing rainbows and ponies, and somehow that is so offensive to you, and you're so dumb that you're asking for these people's vote, but at the same time going to kill their gay neighbor, their gay son, their lesbian daughter, their transgender niece, and this is why people like this they're not qualified or fit to run for office. And that's how we need to view it. You're exactly right. They disqualify themselves the moment they pick their beliefs, which a belief is a personal belief. It shouldn't influence your job. You shouldn't keep you from being able to do your job, which is to serve the public. When you run for public office, and if you win public office, you're a public servant, meaning you're also a public servant to gay men, lesbian women, and transgender
whether you like it or not. Yeah.
We're here and we're queer, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you can stick that in your corncob mouth and move on down the road, hillbilly. And it's just the facts. Next, our last topic of the day is, remember Ted Cruz tried to ban dildos. So Ted Cruz was part of the movement there in Texas that for a while was trying to really push. I think there was a Texas law proposed that we were going to limit people to 6. You could only have 6 sex toys. And so it's kind of ironic because Ted Cruz is a walking dildo, that he would actually want to ban them. But 2, I really think it's just jealousy, because I think his wife, probably being married to him, probably has an incredible collection of dildos.
And he's projecting. I'm tired of all these dildos in the house. So I'm
tremendous. She has a few Black & Decker pecker wreckers, probably some tripods and some stuff. Because can you imagine being married to him?
How could you enforce that?
And also too, the fact that he didn't even defend his wife. But it came up again in one of the discussions. They were talking about the teachers quitting and all that. And so somebody put a meme that reminded us of, remember Ted Cruz tried to ban dildos, and then he had these flow charts where he was showing stuff in Congress and wouldn't put the magical naughty spot, on women and just all kinds of typical Ted Cruz stuff.
I don't know if I've told you that story, Jenny, but I don't know if it still is. But in Texas, like Oklahoma, there used to be the blue law, which the blue law said you couldn't buy certain things on Sundays, right?
Yeah, there were morale laws.
Yeah, and then they moved it, and then you can buy beer, not liquor, afternoon on Sundays, and it's been changing now. As you can actually get packaged liquor or something, in restaurant after 11 a.m. All that kind of stuff, because it was all about football games and so forth. Right. Well, back in 1998, it was you can't buy a dildo it has to be a novelty. They have to call it a novelty invite in Texas. And I, being in a long-term relationship at the time, ordered 2 of them to be shipped to Valley Ranch, which is where the Dallas Cowboys headquarters was at the time, which is where we lived. The package came and it had been damaged and one of them was missing. The person delivered it and said, "I'm sorry, this has been damaged." I was so upset because one of them was missing. I went to the post office to file a complaint, and my other half of the time said, was so embarrassed, "Don't do that." I said, I'm not embarrassed. I went up there, got in line, filed a complaint thing that one of those dildos, and it was my Troy Aikman, was missing. So it didn't stop me from ordering stuff. So I just thought it was funny, and now I look back at it, and I was like, "That I probably should have been so angry about that and just ordered it, because they call them when you order them, you can't they're called novelties or whatever you call them, whatever." Yeah. But I just thought it was so funny because I guess they just assumed whoever at the post office stole it. I'd be too embarrassed to go up there and we bought these to be funny. I'm going to go get the dart. I'm going to file a complaint because I want them to find who's stealing this stuff in here. So anyway, that's my story.
That's great. So the great dildo caper of North Texas.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Going to find
it. So of course all the memes about Ted Cruz are popping up on Twitter. Yeah. So it's got one of them, the guy put hashtag El Cubano de Canada regards himself as a sex expert on female reproduction. As he points out to the clitoris, he calls it the devil's doorbell. And just different things. Like, of course, they're going to drag Lady Cruz because he's just so literally dramatic, just so over the top. I mean, I could see why people would make fun of him. It's so easy when you get so dramatic about sex toys and things like that. But this is typical par for the course for the Republicans is they won't ban guns. They won't ban certain types of guns that are actually killing people. Mm-hmm. But they'll lose your mind if you've got too many dildos in your collection, or and I'm just like, dude, it's like the moment that a dildo shoots 50 people, maybe we should have a conversation about banning certain dildos. Yeah. But until then, maybe we should have conversations about things that actually are affecting our nation and our states and our cities. But again, it's that performative nature, just like the book ban.
Yeah.
Just like all these other, the attacks on woke culture, which is part and parcel. It seems like the theme of the Republican Party is that they've lumped it all under teachers trying to be too woke. Sure. The gay community is too woke. These Democrats are too woke. And you go, I don't even think you even realize what woke even means.
Well, they don't, because they're stupid.
Well, yeah. Well, they skipped all that fancy reading, writing, arithmetic back in the day. Mm-hmm. And they're scared of science, because there may be a scientific equation that will explain how stupid they are. Yeah. But it's like, at some point you got to look at them and go, you can't ban everything.
Yeah.
Like or the people are going to ban you. Where the people are, even Republicans are now leaving the party. There is one guy, and I can't remember which state it was or what his name is. They literally has dropped out of the Republican Party and is now running as a Democrat.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see. You just saw what happened to Liz Cheney up in Wyoming. That one of the crazy Trump candidates beat her out in the primary because they were so mad because she actually did the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was on a committee to get to the bottom of the January 6th attack and coup. And so it's so bizarre that part of her job was to be on that committee. But the people in Wyoming elected her to first and foremost protect the Constitution. And part of that is being on committees and being in hearings. So there was Republican representation on this committee.
Yeah.
You would want that. That just because so the party of law and order is now mad that she's doing what she's took an oath to do. What she said, I'm running as a representative for all, and everybody wants to see these January 6 hearings. That over 70% of the population, including Republicans, certain Republican voters, want to see this happen. If the Republican Party is to survive, which I hope it doesn't, it's going to have to face the music on this. You organize an attack on the Capitol to stop democracy. Things like this have to happen. We don't have to worry about people's dildo collections. We shouldn't worry about drag queens reading books in libraries. You should be happy that adults are taking the time to read to kids. There's things that are just common sense that are escaping the Republican Party, like fifth graders wanting to learn about science and volcanoes and planets and how frogs are made, and just like overwhelmingly woke ideas like is Pluto a planet or a mini planet? It just we're at that point of the book that you go, that villain really is stupid. That villain, that anti-hero is the Republican Party. They are the most anti-American group on the planet. They are a terrorism cell that we should be more worried about than Al Qaeda. And they're a threat to democracy, And there's no other way. I mean, they're laughable to a point till they start banning educational tools and so they start banning books. Because we all know how that ended up.
Well, it's once again, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
People who it's not going to prevent people from getting educated.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to prevent their kids from being educated, and it's going to allow their kids are going to be mocked. Their kids are going to be laughed at. You're the kids of those dumb parents that don't want to teach science.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes, that's correct. Those are that is my mom. I mean, I don't know.
It's like almost like they're purging themselves, and it's just like with COVID.
Exactly. Yeah,
COVID was a self-correcting virus that if you don't take the proper steps, the science-based steps like masking, washing your hands, simple things like washing your hands, and getting vaccinated, just like we've done our entire history of our country, including with George Washington, that if we don't do the things that we know to do that are just typical things we should do, kooky things like going to a doctor, getting vaccination, it's old Miss Rona don't care. We talked about that. Like you wiped yourself out. And for the Republicans, the masses of Republicans that have died from this, it's like, you guys, can you just not look at that and just say, maybe we should learn? maybe we've taken this too far. How many people need to die of a preventable virus?
Yeah. That's why, Jenny, I'm not sad that these MAGA Republicans are dumbing down their own kids. I'm sad for the kids, but I'm not sad for them because these are kids. These are people that I probably don't want. I want them to be focused on that kind of stuff than the real stuff that, anyway, I just, the more they're focused on these kind of things, the less they're focused on other, because they don't, their attention span, they can't multitask.
Yeah. And the lucky thing is that if we keep standing up for what is right and keep protecting people's fundamental human rights, we'll see it play out very well this fall if we keep reminding people we don't want these type of people holding any office. That the general theme is putting Republicans in office is dangerous to your own human rights, your own ability to earn a living, that they are anti-commerce, they're anti-American, they're anti-everything. They hate everything. They hate science.
Capitalism, they're anti-free market.
I mean,
They're making us
fifth grade science.
They're making us exactly.
They're banning Anne Frank, which is the irony of ironies with book bannings. Is they're banning a book that was written about a scared young girl trying to escape Nazism.
Exactly.
I don't think anything could be more poignant than that. And in the process, they got their own Bible bans as well.
Yeah.
So careful what you ask for. You may just get that shit sandwich fed to you back. You know.
Exactly.
And on that note, we will close out the show.
Are we dancing the music?
Bye, David.
Bye. See you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And Christian and I just blathering on about craziness in the world today. Y'all be safe out there. There is a lot of Republicans on the road.
That's right.
Have
Bye,
a good
boo.
week. Bye.
Bye.